Hello, good morning. Oh, is it good afternoon?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
We are doing good.
Great. So happy to meet all of you. I am Fantasana and I'm Senior Program Officer, National Youth Parliament. So we would be having, we'll be expecting members of the National Assembly as the major speakers on this webinar today. They also double as the members of the ECOWAS Parliament here at the National Assembly's level. Also, members of the civil society are expected to attend, and also journalists. Um, I think we would allow them a little bit of time to also, access the platform, and then we can commence the conversation from there. Thank you very much. Members it appears some of these National Assembly members are finding it difficult to actually access the platform. So I was just in touch with one of them, and he's trying to also register, but unfortunately, it's not possible. So I was wondering if our hosts are able to see his login details and to allow him access to the platform. That would be great. Yes.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi.
Please, what is the exact challenge they are facing? What's happening when
I think
they
logging in.
Did they
Because one of
register?
yes, he did. He said he rejoined and register. He clicked it, but it's not coming through.
Can he send a screenshot of whatever he's seeing to Florence?
From his screen.
Florence, yeah. So that I can have a look at it, because I'm not too sure what's happening.
Yeah, right. Sure, I've already sent him that information. So while we're at it, I think we can. It's a convenient time to forge ahead at this point in time, given that we have a good number of participants on the platform. Yes, so like I already mentioned, I am Fantasane and I'm Senior Program Officer, National Youth Parliament, and I'll be hosting this webinar today. It's in commemoration of the ECOWAS Golden Jubilee, ECOWAS at 50. And before we forge ahead, I'd like to recognize the presence of one of our panelists, Uncle Madi Jobate. Madi is a seasoned human rights advocate and also the executive director for the Edward Francis Small Center for Human Rights and Justice. So quickly, we would have our partners from PN Africa, Gilbert, do the opening remarks, and then we'll have Oba also do an opening statement, and then we would proceed as we go. Mr. Gilbert, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sunny, for the opportunity. I hope you can hear me. Hello, Sunny, can you hear me?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So good afternoon to our esteemed panelists and participants. On behalf of Parliamentary Network Africa, I welcome all of you to today's webinar. We are most grateful to the National Youth Parliament for this partnership, and we look forward to more of such collaborations ahead. This year, PN Africa turns 10 years, and as we celebrate our 10 years anniversary under the theme 10 Years of Impact, Advancing Parliamentary Transparency, Accountability, and civic engagement through partnership. We acknowledge the numerous partners that have worked with us throughout this journey. The story of PN-Africa's footprint in the Gambia will not be complete without acknowledging the contribution and partnership of the National Assembly, civil society actors like Saint Marty and John Charles, formerly of Tango. Let me take this opportunity to specially acknowledge Madi Jobate, a trailblazer and a mentor in the civil society and media space in the Gambia. Sir, we are most grateful for your advice and guidance while setting up in the Gambia, and it is an honor to have you joining us today. In a constitutional democracy, Parliament holds the critical responsibility of representing the people and ensuring government by the people. This representation is realized when members of Parliament act on behalf of their constituents in the process of passing legislation, overseeing the executive's action, and promoting public involvement in parliamentary activities. Today's webinar on the topic Strengthening Parliamentary Engagement for Regional Integration and Stability reminds us of the critical role African Parliament can play in rallying citizens of the continent around one developmental agenda, such as Agenda 2063. However, in the context of today's event, which is part of our Building Regional Integration Through Dialogue and Governance Engagement project, Bridge, with funding from Wadimos, let me focus on the ECOWAS Parliament. The ECOWAS Parliament stands as a vital institution entrusted with the representation, legislative, and oversight responsibilities for the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. Established in 1994, the ECOWAS Parliament has a mandate to promote regional integration, peace, and social economic development by fostering cooperation among its member states and shaping regional policies to advance the collective interests of the West African community. However, amidst the dynamic tapestry of regional integration and democratic advancement, it is imperative for the ECOWAS Parliament to remain closely attuned to the aspirations and needs of its citizens. As echoed in the broader discourse on open governance and parliamentary transparency, the disconnect between legislative bodies and the populace pose a formidable challenge to the legitimacy and effectiveness of democratic institutions. It is my expectation that by the end of this webinar, we would have pragmatic solutions to the numerous challenges facing our regional bloc. Thank you very much. Over to you, Sane. Hello, Sane.
Thank you, Gilbert. Thank you for that brilliant opening. I will also, at this juncture, would like to recognize the presence of Honorable Amadou Kamara, a National Assembly member and also a member of the ECOWAS Parliament. Similarly, the chairman of the ECOWAS Parliament, Honorable Bile Tunkara, who's also with us today. I'd also want to celebrate the remarkable achievements or the contributions of Said Matijao and John Charles Nyai, who've also been invited, and we're hoping that they'll be joining us shortly. At this point, we would like to invite Abdoulaye Oba, Clerk of the National Youth Parliament, to give brief statements, and then we'll proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fanta, and thank you very much to every other person that is on board with us, to our panelists, members of the National Assembly, the Gambia, of course, our partners from PN Africa, as well as Wademos. I don't know if they are present. I also extend my sincere greeting to Uncle Madi Jobate, who has been always here whenever we call and has always answered our calls. And of course, he's an inspiration to all of us young people who are aspiring to make this region one of the most developed and one of the most peaceful regions in and around the continent. As part of today's activity, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, was established nearly 5 decades ago, just like Gilbert mentioned. And this has been the cornerstone for peace and stability and economic integration in West Africa. However, in recent years, its unity and effectiveness has been tested by democratic backslides, military coups, violent extremism, and nationalistic agendas that threaten the regional cooperation that we've enjoyed over the period of years. Almost 50 years of integrations are at risk as countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Guinea has faced political instability and have either exited or expressed intentions to withdraw from this bloc. Recently, we've also seen Togo, which signaled interest in joining the Sahel state, signaling deeper features with the bloc. In this precarious context, the role of national and regional parliaments, especially the ECOWAS parliaments and member state parliaments, is very critical. Yet these bodies often remain underutilized due to the limited capacities, insufficient resources, and lack of political will to act proactively on the regional challenges. It is against this backdrop as ECOWAS marks its 50th anniversary in May 2025. The National Youth Parliament, the Gambia, in partnership with the Parliamentary Network Africa, as partners of the Wademo's regional efforts, seek to leverage this symbolic milestone to promote parliamentary diplomacy, democratic dialogue, and sub-regional solidarity through proactive engagements with Gambian members of parliament. Now, it is against this backdrop that we partnered with the PN Africa to ensure that the National Youth Parliament, as young people, and of course, as a civil society organization that is quite very passionate about how the regional integration we've enjoyed over the period continue to flourish. We thought to have an engagement which was going to bolster this, this cooperation that we've had. And part of those, we've engaged in few activities that we wanted to do to ensure we contribute our quota to these growing concerns that we face in the region. Part of the things that we wanted to do was to ensure that we have the Gambian delegation to the ECOWAS Parliament to have a statement of solidarity calling on other member states to continue to nurture the peace and security that we've enjoyed in the region. And this we were able to do sometimes last month to engage the National Assembly of the Gambia and had a video documentary of stating the position of the ECOWAS Parliament from the Gambia. We also worked on making sure we had a documentary of that information, which was documented in a video. And this video is hopefully going to be shared with all of you to see the position of our parliament, which was read by Honorable Dabo of Brikama North. Part of the other engagements that we wanted to do was hosting this webinar today to ensure we hear more divergent perspectives, but also to hear more insight as to how do we contribute to the stability that we enjoy in Africa. So basically, that is the essence of this gathering. And I look forward to making sure that this is a very great milestone and that it leads to a lot of prospects and a lot of impacts. At this point, Fanta, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Clark, for that insightful, context of why we're here this afternoon. That takes me to the first question that will be posed to the Honorable National Assembly Member for Kantora, who also doubles as the chairman of the ECOWAS Parliament at the National Assembly. Honorable Tunkara, this brings me to my first question, and that is to also ask, taking a reflection over the past 50 years, what would you, as a member, as a chairman of the ECOWAS Parliament, identify as ECOWAS's most significant achievements in promoting regional integration and democratic governance? This is the question. What are your thoughts? What has been so far some of the biggest achievements of ECOWAS?
Thank you very much, Fanta. Good afternoon to all of you. All protocols duly and respectfully observed. As you rightly said it, as the head of delegation of the Gambian Parliament to ECOWAS Parliament and also the Deputy Speaker of ECOWAS Parliament of the 6th Legislature, it's my singular honor and privilege to join you to add my voice to Voice of the Youth to amplify our voices together in terms of celebrating ECOWAS at 50-50 is a moment of reflection and introspection as well, for us to look back and also what are the prospects ahead. Basically, I think ECOWAS has really went down to memory lane. ECOWAS has really contributed significantly in terms of regional solidarity, regional integration. If we go back to 1975, 28 May, history will tell us that this dream is out of goodwill for us to come together to form an alliance, coming together to form a regional bloc that will foster integration, that will foster trade in between us. And that is why, if you look at the first treaty of the ECOWAS, it's more of trade-oriented policy or trade-oriented programs. Is how can we conduct trade within ourselves without unreasonable restriction among ourselves. And over the time, you've seen it has metamorphosed into a human rights defender. That is why you have the Court of Parliament. That court initially, it has only one mandate, that is to look at trade disputes between member states. Because the idea about ECOWAS, it is an integration, but economic integration. And now, from that, they deem it necessary to put in the court, so that the court could serve as an arbiter to arbitrate between states that are aggrieved. And over the years, ECOWAS has transformed itself into a human rights defender, trying to make sure that at least violation of fundamental human rights should not be only left at the mercy of the state, but there should be an upper echelon where one can really seek redress if you're not satisfied with the modus operandi or how the judgment has been given. Looking at political context and also some bad governance within our member states. So kudos to that. And now citizens of ECOWAS now are now going there to seek redress, and a lot of things have really improved in terms of access to justice. And if you also look at the ECOWAS, we've achieved a lot in terms of even the free movement. It has metamorphosed from ECOWAS of state to ECOWAS of people, whereby moving freely within the West African sub-region without restriction. Once you have the biometric ID card, the world or the region is in your hand. You move freely, and that's why if you look at the trade transaction, not the inter-trade, but intra-trade, the domestic trade, you will see that there's a huge volume of intra-trade within the sub-region. These organization of how do you call it again? Trade fairs, that are happening in Banjul, in Senegal, in so many areas, that has really bring the sub-region together to really interact and engage in trade between the countries. And if you look at in terms of political and peace and security, I think ECOWAS has achieved a lot in terms of intervening in Liberia, in Sierra Leone, and recently in the Gambia. So we've seen how ECOMOG, then ECOMOG before ECOMOG has bring peace in Liberia. How ECOMOG has also bring peace in Sierra Leone. And these are war-torn countries that really tear community and society apart. So all these things are great achievement, in gear towards maintaining lasting peace. And of recent in the Gambia, when former President Jammeh tried to nullify the results, that is not going to accept the results, outcome of the results, we are going to call for fresh election. And you've seen the pragmatic intervention of ECOWAS in trying to bring democracy. We are all enjoying. You and myself, we are all enjoying. So basically, I think ECOWAS has done a lot. And also, if you look at in terms of another ECOWAS achievement is about making treaties, making protocols relating to how do we enhance trade, the issue of ISRT, inter-state road transit issues, the brown card, as well as the how do you call it again, ECOWAS Trade Liberation Scheme, ETLS, ISRTs, all these are all geared toward in terms of facilitating trade between our countries as well. So they have done a lot, and also even the good governance as well. So there's a good governance document that all the states have signed up for. And this is also geared toward promoting and also advocating for time limits in our various constitutions, promoting rule of law, good governance, within the sub-region. These are all geared towards, in terms of promoting, good leadership. And if you look at also in terms of security, they have put together a formidable, security force who are ECOWAS standby forces, and they are now currently in Bissau. They're called the ECOWAS Stabilization Standby Force in Bissau. These are all geared toward, to give an ugly eye in terms of toppling government. So I think just to cut the story short, I can go on and on and on, but I'll just allow my other parliamentarians to also take a bite of the cake and also give their own perspective. So to cut the long story short, these are some of the good intervention that we should be, as youth parliament, we should be discussing, so that people should know that ECOWAS has really achieved a lot. Not to focus the narrative or discussion on the exit of the three states. We have a lot to discuss, in terms of achievement of ECOWAS as far as our integration is concerned in the region. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Those were really brilliant insights. From your presentation, you can already identify, or you can already tell that the ECOWAS has been doing significantly well in, ensuring that there's justice, or access to, apex courts in terms of seeking redress, and also they've made invaluable contributions to free movement or intra-trade within the African sub-region or the regional bloc. But we've also seen that they've extensively also improved on security sector, in the security sector, preventing unconstitutional takeovers within the African sub-region, which is really commendable on the side of ECOWAS. So I will shift the question to Honorable Amadou Kamara. I'm sure he also has a different take. Honorable, you are welcome. The floor is yours.
This meeting is being recorded. Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you very much to all those who are listening. And it's a pleasure to be part of this once again. I can remember last week or 2 weeks back, I was invited into a such platform, but unfortunately, I couldn't continue because by then I was in my constituency and I lost network afterwards. But it's always a pleasure to be part of such initiatives and to contribute my part as far as the topic of discussion is concerned. And as Honorable Billis rightly said, him being our leader, head of delegation at the ECOWAS Parliament, definitely I cannot say any better than he has said. Yes, ECOWAS is celebrating 50 years, which is a milestone achievement that we all need to celebrate, but not only celebrate, but of course reflect on what could have been done better or what is lacking as far as the main ultimate aims and objective of the sub-regional bloc is concerned. So basically, I've talked on the positive sides, which I cannot say any better. And then just to reiterate the fact that ECOWAS has achieved a lot, I have to say, ranging from the free movement of goods and services, and then integration of services like travel documents. These are all achievements, and you went into good governance, rule of law. You have the ECOWAS Court of Justice there, and then you have the ECOWAS Parliament, you have the Commission, Council of Ministers. A lot. There is a lot of things. There are a lot of things that are happening, which we all need to celebrate, and which we all need to sit down and reflect on. But again, coming on the other side, some of the shortfalls as far as the sub-regional integration is concerned. When you talk of free movement of goods and services, is that a reality? Some people tend to question, and even myself sometimes I even tend to question, because definitely it is something which that is achievable, it's a reality, and it is happening. But there are issues here and there. So these are the issues that we sometimes need to talk about. How do we align ourselves, especially all the region, the member state of ECOWAS? How do they align themselves with ECOWAS policies, with ECOWAS treaties? Because it's one thing to ratify some of these protocols, some of these treaties, but if you go to the different countries, implementation might differ in one way or the other. So these are all issues that we need to talk and because it's like when you are an ECOWAS citizen, you are traveling to the Gambia. When you come to the Gambia, how does the Gambia immigration, how does the Gambia authority receive you? How do they receive you as an ECOWAS citizen? If you move from the Gambia, or you move from another ECOWAS country, going into another ECOWAS country different from the Gambia, how do those people perceive you? How did they receive you? And so on. And I know that there are small issues because last time when the ECOWAS Parliament came here, we had a very good interactive session with some business people around the underlying border. And some of these are the issues that they will tell you. And then it's true, it might be a problem of ECOWAS, but it also have to be a problem of some of the member states, because respecting the treaties that you signed, that you ratified, and of course domesticating them to be in your own laws, in your own rules and regulations, it's another thing. And some member states are lacking it. Some member states are lacking it. Yes, because one scenario I will tell you, some of these non-formal business operators, sometimes they face challenges at the borders when they are doing their trade. You come, go and buy vegetables from Senegal or from your country, you want to enter Gambia, you want to leave Senegal. You are subjected to so many unnecessary things sometimes. I'm not saying this happen always, but these are realities that people are saying in the ground. We need to look at that. You understand? And then moving on to good governance, we've seen the security threats here and there. Not forgetting the fact that those three Sahel countries that break away from ECOWAS, of course, not forgetting it, but we still have some issues within within ourselves. How do we collaborate? We've seen some issues happen in some other countries. I will not give a specific example regarding to issues which, whereas maybe let's say rule of law, good governance are violated here and there. But there are issues. There are issues. There are issues. And these are issues that we need to talk about as members of parliament and as members of the ECOWAS parliament. Then these are deliberations that we've been talking about, even at the floor of the ECOWAS parliament. How do we come together and we better perform to help one another? Yes, these are all things that we need to talk about. And then the other thing is you cannot talk about ECOWAS at 50 without talking about these three big countries, three states. It's a problem, and then we have to accept that they are gone. How do we further collaborate with them? I think that should be the way forward. How do we think we can talk to them better? How do we think we can bring them back? Because they are going. It's definitely not good for the sub-region because in this past session of the ECOWAS Parliament, there was a motion tabled by one member from Nigeria who is bordered with his constituency is bordered around the Niger and so on. There are a lot of security threats they are experiencing. And even if you listen to the country reports of other countries within the member state like Benin, like Togo, like Cote d'Ivoire, they are experiencing so many security threats because those other countries break away. So we need to do something extraordinary as far as this sub-regional integration is concerned. To see how best we bring them back. Bringing them back, I think, is the way forward. Actually, I think we all need to focus on that. We need to talk about that. It's only talking and only dialogue, not force, not threats and sanctions that will solve some of this problem. I think basically that's what I have to contribute because some of the positive aspects, milestone achievements registered so far have been adequately dealt with by Honorable Ability who is the fourth deputy speaker of the Equatorial and of course our head of delegation. So basically, thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here once again.
Thank you very much, Honorable. It seems you've already preempted our next question, but I'll still throw it back to you, and then we'll have Uncle Madi come in before we have Honorable Sheriff Sir. So, because you've already highlighted some of the challenges, non-formal business actors usually face, and some countries also face due to the breakaway of countries like Togo and Benin, like we've already highlighted. We've also been witness to some of these withdrawals from the ECOWAS, but we want to understand, you know why is this the case, and what do you think can be done so far?
Yeah, coming back to the issue that I just talked about, then about the withdrawal of those three members, it's a problem. And once you acknowledge that there is a problem, I think then thereby you can start moving on how to solve the problems. Yes, for me, in my own personal view, the approach that the commission or even the authority took at the initial stage, I think that's how the mistrust comes in until these people they are sort of like they feel that they can't trust the authority, they can't trust themselves further to be within us. That's why they went away because of the sanctions, because of so many issues that are highlighted, but are even highlighted by them. So now what do we need to do is let's open up whatever that there is restriction before the sanctions, the restrictions. You understand the security threats and so on. Let's open up to them. There should be no restriction between us and them, and then there should be no sanction between the authority and them. We have to work collaboratively and see how best we continue talking to them because one thing I have to tell you, this is not about the heads of those governments or states. This is about us as people. Myself, if I want to travel to Niger or if I want to travel to Burkina Faso, and those Burkina Faso, if they want to travel within the sub-region and so on, they want to do businesses, they want to work in a different country, like some of them are already doing. And in fact, the institutions that we have there, it's something which you know that if sometimes we are talking about you have to be a bit emotional because coming from the health background, we know there are some health interventions that we are ongoing there, and these people feel that once you mention the name of ECOWAS, that is ECOWAS implementing some of this project, they tend to stop you. And it's a fact some of those citizens need those interventions, need those health interventions. So it's so sometimes like I said, you become emotional when you are told about the stories because I attended a hearing with WAHO and things. Yeah, these are some of the issues that the resident rep in those countries where they don't want to see the name of ECOWAS and we are intervening in key areas whereas people need them. Water, sanitation, health, and so on. So let's talk to them. It's not about like government of the Gambia or ECOWAS as an authority versus this state. No, but people to people. It is the people that matters here. Because like Honorable Bile said, this is not about integration only, sub-regional integration or economic integration only, but of course ECOWAS of the common people. This is it. This is ECOWAS of the people. It's the people that matters now. So basically, to me, I think the steps that have been taken of recent, we've seen communique between those three countries and the ECOWAS Commission. I think it's a positive step to start with, in my own view. Once we start talking, I think there can be headways, positive headways for that matter. All these things can be history in one day. But they are gone, they are gone. Now, how do we get them back or how do you collaborate further with them? That's the question. And I think it's only through dialogue and continuous dialogue, serious one, serious dialogue that should continue, basically, because the threats are there, the security threats are there, and some of all this beautiful work that has been done within the region, regards of regional integration, the health aspect, free movement of goods and services, businesses, and so on. And in fact, some of the initiatives that have been done by ECOWAS, like this, the corridors connecting one country to the other, whereas you can travel by road from one country to the other. These are all issues that will be stalled as far as this country break away. So basically, that is my take on that.
Thank you very much, Honorable. I can see questions in the comment section, but we will revert to them once we've concluded with the questions we have for our panelists. At this point, I want to throw the question back to Uncle Madi. We also want to get the civil society perspective as well. Uncle Madi, what are your thoughts with respect to the recent regression, military coups, and constitutional threats within the regional bloc? What do you think are the causes, and what do you think can be done? But of course, also the role of Parliament in the entire process.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty loaded question, Fanta. Too many things. I don't know whether I'm being seen, sort of, I don't know. Yeah, but you know, and I thank the our honorable members who are here for taking the time to come and join us, especially given that they are members of the ECOWAS court. I mean ECOWAS Parliament. You know, I think one thing I'll throw to the honorable members and to ECOWAS and to all of us, it is ECOWAS 50 years. I mean, I think 50 years is the silver jubilee, I think, or which one is that? I don't know, right? But where is the celebration? Where is the golden jubilee? Okay, where is the presence, the feeling, the ambience of the golden jubilee in our schools, in our markets, in our communities, in our offices, for example? Where is it? All right, as opposed to when we have UN Day or Commonwealth Day, we would see even the government's issue statements, some ceremony take place. But ECOWAS Day has come and it just passes off. So that is very significant, that we as ECOWAS citizens need to really think about. And that, for me, explains all of the issues we've been discussing with the honorable members and the questions we've been posing to myself. And so the present realities in ECOWAS and moving forward. Yes, I heard Honorable Dukara talk about original objectives, and then we got to 1993, that's a revised treaty, so that the issue was not just about economic integration, but also looking at democracy, good governance, so that by 2001, we even saw a protocol on democracy and good governance. So that when you look at it, ECOWAS has all the instruments, all the necessary instruments and institutions. So when the honorable members were speaking in terms of success, yes, we can relate to the Gambia 2017, when the ECOMIC was established to come to the Gambia, which has been a long-standing history. Liberia, Sierra Leone, peace missions have been sent to Burkina Faso, in Guinea-Bissau, and so on. All right. But I also recall sitting in my office at Tango in 2011, I received a letter from ECOWAS announcing that they are not going to come to the Gambia to observe the elections, highlighting all the problems. And I was very furious as an ECOWAS citizen. I remember being a member of ECOWAS because I felt ECOWAS has betrayed us, has abandoned us at a time when they should stand with us. But I raised the question back to them. I said, look, how did we get to this point that a member state would, drop to a level that ECOWAS itself doesn't want to do anything, with it? What is the whole idea of forming ECOWAS in the first place, therefore? So that when we look at today, Mali, Guinea, Niger, Burkina Faso, it raised that question. What has been the role? What has been the purpose, really? Has ECOWAS, as a body, performing its objectives, to ensure that we do not get to a situation where not just these 4 countries or 3 countries removing themselves from ECOWAS, but why would there be a military coup in the first place? When ECOWAS had established a protocol on good governance and democracy in 2001 against unconstitutional change of government. But look at the situation now in Guinea-Bissau, where a president is sitting, his term has ended. But then, the rest of them, whether it's Nigeria or Ghana or the Gambia or Senegal, let's look at the quality of governance, the quality of democracy in all of these member states across, the 15 member states. So I think one can look at it in terms of success. Yes, the crisis that they came to address. But if you ask me, I would say it's rather unfortunate because ECOWAS is not a crisis management organization. It's not a firefighting organization. ECOWAS was created to build, create democracy, good governance, economic integration, prosperity, peace, and security in West Africa. That is what its mandate was. And it's always. All right. So how that organization has transformed into a crisis management raises serious questions that, for me, at this 50th anniversary, West African governments, ECOWAS needs to have a very serious conversation, really, because not just some members have left and all these challenges we face, but we need to contextualize ECOWAS West Africa in the context of the region, Africa, in the context of the world. What is happening? What is the future like? You know, what challenges do we face? I mean, look at the presence of foreign military bases, interventions in West Africa right now, climate change, irregular migration, terrorism, and so on. So these are all issues that, you know, should bring us together on this 50th anniversary. I would have expected that the ECOWAS Commission, the ECOWAS Parliament, the authority of heads of state would be generating serious conversations with the people of ECOWAS as to the trajectory we've taken from 1975 to date. Is this feasible? Is this sustainable? Is this tenable or not? And in my view, it is not. So you mentioned trade, and or the Honorable mentioned trade. As I said, ECOWAS has all the instruments regarding those things. ISRT is there, and all the agreements are there. But when you go to the figures, you look at intra-ECOWAS trade is between 50, 60, 70 billion dollars per annum. But you look at ECOWAS trade with the rest of the world, what we export and import with the rest of the world, you realize it's over $400 billion. So ECOWAS is trading more with the rest of the world than trading among itself. And when you look at the content of what they are trading itself is raw materials and largely informal trade. Informal trade. We are in the Gambia. Count how many Ghanaian companies are in the Gambia right now. Count how many Nigerian companies are operating in the Gambia. Count how many Senegalese companies and so on. Go to Nigeria and count how many Ghanaian companies, Senegalese companies, Togolese companies are there. Go to Senegal, do the same. But then you will see other foreign countries and non-ECOWAS member countries, companies from those countries, saturate our market. And that is a serious matter. And when you look at the challenges again, what is this hampering the trade and so on? You realize disregard of the ECOWAS instruments by member states. You travel today by road and want to go to Accra, want to go to Dakar. How many checkpoints? I traveled 2 years ago by road to Guinea-Bissau. 15 checkpoints. In fact, going to an ECOWAS meeting, and they wanted to send me a ticket. I said, no, I want to go by land. I went by land, drove myself. 15, I counted 15 checkpoints. Only 3 checkpoints is where I got official receipt. In all these 15 checkpoints, I paid 1,000 francs, 5,000 francs, 10,000 francs, and so on. But only 3 places I got a receipt. So I can go on and on and on, but I'm just trying to lay out that we are in a very critical moment. If you look at what is happening, not just in West Africa, but as I said, in Africa, in the world, we really need to look at this so that, finally to speak to this matter, I think we need conversation about the very structure of ECOWAS, the authority, the commission, and the parliament. From the look of things and looking at the protocols establishing the parliament and the treaty itself, in terms of the powers, the functions of these 3 critical institutions of ECOWAS, for me, they are not fit for purpose. And there's need for serious reform so that we position West Africa, which is is probably the most endowed part of Africa. Opportunity in so many ways. But reports would indicate to you that West Africa is the poorest and the most unequal region of Africa, with all the resources in Africa. In this sub-region in West Africa. All right, the human resources, everything, the opportunities, the potential that exists, it is still the poorest and the most unequal. The level of inequality in West Africa is nowhere in Africa. Probably in the rest of the world. So let me stop here, and I'm sorry I don't dominate the conversation. But I think, just to close, to say that I would want us to have a conversation about the structure of ECOWAS. Is ECOWAS in its present form fit for purpose? Is it suitable to bring the transformation that, and to achieve the goals that it was established to achieve in the first place? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Uncle Madi, for that contextualized, analysis of, where we are as a regional bloc, and the real way forward as to how to bring, the African countries together, but also to ensure that ECOWAS really truly stands for what it really represents as a regional bloc. As a regional entity. So at this point, I would like to recognize the presence of Honorable Serif Sir. Honorable Serif Sir, welcome on board. He had difficulties connecting, but we're glad that you're here with us this afternoon. So just to, I know you're just joining, but to also to take you back to hear your perspectives on the achievements of the ECOWAS over time, what has been some of their achievements and some of their setbacks as a regional entity.
Hello? Fanta?
Yes, Honorable.
Yes, can you, I had a call. Can you just refresh what you're asking for?
Yes. I was just essentially throwing the question back to Honorable Serif Sir, for he's just joining us.
Okay,
he had difficulties joining, but now he's with us. So I just wanted to also take him back to keep him abreast with what's been discussed, during the beginning until now, to also hear his reflection as to
before you come, let me just try to
achievements of ECOWAS over time.
Let me just try to take a cue from what Madi has just said. A very quick one.
All right, you.
Yes, Mr. Jobati, yes, you are right. We are not saying it's a perfect institution.
That's fine. The floor is yours.
Yeah, it's not a perfect institution, it's a work in progress. And of course, he's asked why ECOWAS has now metamorphosed into a crisis management situation. This is as a result of the commitment, lack of political will from the various leadership in terms of respecting the rule of law, respecting the very protocol they have signed up for. I represent the speaker in Sierra Leone by the ECOWAS Court of Justice invitation. As Deputy Speaker, I've delivered a statement there, and their concerns are why the countries are not respecting now to implement court judgment. In Liberia, do you know how many court judgment has been given to Liberia for them to implement the how many court judgments have been given to Liberia and they are refusing to implement it? Similarly to Ivory Coast, so many other countries that have been given these court judgments and they're not respecting it as well. So it's not a perfect institution as well. It's a work in progress, and I think, inshallah, we will try to make sure that there is more political commitment, there's more political will, for this integration to strive. You understand? And issue about free movement, he's right. We don't want, for the sake of sovereignty and independence of the states, to be an impediment to this whole integration thing. Because if you really, as a student of international relations and politics, once you are willing to join an international organization, you should also let go some part of your sovereignty as well. So you must be willing to really sacrifice, a big sacrifice as well. So you must be willing to let go some of your sovereignty. But then you will see that nation would opt for, this issue of integration and joining international organization, but they will not be willing to let go part of those sovereign powers. And the issue about international organization, you don't have an international police to enforce this thing. It's about commitment and also about, believing in the various instruments that you've signed up for to make sure that it's smooth. If you look at the trade between Gambia and Senegal in terms of ISRT and ETLS, Senegal is making it very mad for us in terms of a re-export trade. Gambia is making a hell lot of money on re-export trade. I've been saying in ECOWAS Parliament that there is time for us to harmonize our custom laws, because there are so many interstate road transit ISRT good from the Gambia on re-export trade destination Mali, but Senegal is really making it mad for us, saying that Senegal has a different custom laws. So there is call for harmonization of our custom laws in making sure that we boost inter trade. I was in Lagos in the ECOWAS at 50, myself and the speaker, and we have raised concerns on issue about how do you call it again? The unnecessary checkpoints, that member states are really faced with. These are things that the presidents of ECOWAS Commission need to really work to make sure that in as much as we encourage movement of people within, should not be systematically undermined by excess police checkpoints within the region as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable. This is really intense, and I mean, if we leave it to
let me also contribute a little more.
Honorable, yes, please.
And then I'll contribute also.
Thank you.
Very well. The floor is all yours.
Yes.
Interesting.
Thank you. It's very interesting. When people like Mali talk, they always provoke thoughts. I like him. Not always though. But on this subject matter, what he touched definitely touched me so much, because even if you look at our interventions at the floor of the house at the ECOWAS Parliament, these have always been our case. These have always been our cry. Because, like I always tell them, I'm a local person. I'm a local MP. I listen to the cries of the local people, because I don't believe the fact that ECOWAS we've achieved so. It's true, we've achieved so much. But when it comes to free movement of people, goods, and I'm also a frequent traveler. I do go by road to Senegal. Sometimes I even go up to Bissau and so on. But honestly, when we talk about free movement of goods and services, it's the implementation is still lacking in some of these member states. And these are the issues that we need to integrate. And as members of the ECOWAS Parliament, whenever we have the opportunity at the floor of our house, these are always the critical issues that we touch on. It's important. It's very, very, very important that we keep talking about these things. We keep talking about these things, and I think we should proffer into solutions one day, and then we move on from this. Like also on the other issues, when we talk about peace, security, and then countries signing to some of these protocols, usually every beautiful protocol with regards to some of these things that we are crying in ECOWAS is there. Very beautiful protocol, very beautiful treaties. If you are even reading some of their submissions, you will be amazed, you will be happy. But go to some of these member states, honestly, you will even tend to question why is it that for us as a country, because I always give them an example as a Gambia. Gambia is an example as far as ECOWAS is concerned. We are always ahead when it comes to implementation on some of these treaties. But some countries, if they present, you will, oh my God. But we say sub-regional integration, sub-regional solidarity. You cannot just point to a country directly and start talking. So we are restricted in that also. But honestly, we still need to do a lot more. And as members of parliament, we have already started the talking. Yes, and we'll continue to talk.
Thank you very much, Honorable. I mean, the conversation can keep going on and on and on and on, but I'll also allow Honorable Sheriff Sar to just step in quickly. Honorable Sar, from the deliberations, your fellow parliamentarians have highlighted some of the successes of ECOWAS, but similarly also highlighted some of the challenges and why certain countries are withdrawing from the regional entity, and I mean, Honorable Camara specifically cited issues of mistrust in the ECOWAS leadership by certain member states, I mean, as the major reasons for the withdrawal of these countries. What are your thoughts in respect of these circumstances? Honorable Sarah, can you hear me?
Fanta?
Yes.
Fanta, you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I say
Yes.
thank you very much to everyone. I mean,
Please.
and also apologize for coming late. Yes, I heard some of my colleagues and also Mr. Jobate on his contribution. Fanta, this is, I mean, the ECOWAS. Yes, we have seen some development from ECOWAS, but most people in this country or in Africa, when you ask them about ECOWAS, the only thing that they will tell you is there are a lot of conflict. When there are conflict, at the time you hear the word ECOWAS everywhere, echoing everywhere. And number two is the best thing that they are known of is trying to bring in sanctions on those countries that are affected. But my question here is, before sanctions, what should we do? Yes, there are laws. Everybody comes up with laws, everybody creates laws. But are we respecting those laws? Are those laws respected as the way it should be? That's my concern. Because, yes, we prepare good laws, but at the end of the day, we try to look at laws that best fit us as leaders. You come with a constitution in the Gambia, put it, for example, in the Gambia, we have our own constitution. Next means Jabara is the head of state. Jabara would like to bring in a change and bring in amendments at the end of that will suit him. That brings in all this conflict in this sub-region. And if there are conflicts, how are you going to come on board to resolve those conflicts? It's going to be on force, to use force, to say sanction. Before you sanction, look, go around and know what was the problem. We are not encouraging military coup. We are saying no to it. But if it happens, let's go and look at it. I mean, the possibility of trying to resolve. But how should we resolve? Is to know what were the problems. Let's set an example of Guinea-Bissau. As I made during my last contribution, Guinea-Bissau is currently doing what he wants. The present time has ended since February, but he's still there. If there is meeting over what do we expect ECOWAS to do? Either to ask them to return back to civilian rule or to sanction them. But when things have started, what is ECOWAS' role? When it comes to ECOWAS heads of state, they decide. They sit over and have a meeting and decide on their own. If you have decide on your own fate, how will you be very fair to yourself? If you are a head of state to decide on your own fate, it's going to be very difficult. So I think, as Mari said, we need to look at ECOWAS properly, to restructure ECOWAS again, and see what is best for everybody. The issue of free movement of goods and people is not working. Let's look at our example of Senegal and Gambia. We are very close, but it's not happening. And if you go further Senegal, anywhere you go, people are always crying every minute. The issue of free movement of goods is not possible. It's not happening. Come going to Senegal here, if you are even doing business with at least 10 cups of sugar, the only way they take it away from you. When do we have relatives in both countries? So where is the free movement of goods? I think, I mean, as my colleagues rightly mentioned, we must start it somewhere and then look at ECOWAS, restructure ECOWAS, and see that the agreement that have been signed, that are already in place, we look at it and revisit them and make it possible. As Honorable Betunker has already mentioned, there's no ECOWAS force when it comes to security. We only talk about ECOWAS when there's a conflict. We go and ask Gambia to bring this out, to bring this people to bring, and then say we go and remedy the situation. But so we start there. Nigeria currently now, there are a lot of terrorism everywhere. In every corner you go, there are terrorism. People have been attacked from every corner, and go to other countries. So if Burkina and Niger and Mali are trying to do it on their own, and they are succeeding, hope others will not follow suit. So before that bell is being, before ringing that bell to say stop it, I think we have to sit down at the round table and then call everybody on board and then look for the way forward. Because ECOWAS, there are opportunities in ECOWAS. West Africa have it all. Even Africa, we have it all. We have it all what it takes to be on our own. But if you are at ECOWAS, to be controlled by the West, where is the independence of ECOWAS? It's lacking. We must be first independent on our own, independent on our thoughts, and know where are we heading to. But if I am not in agreement with Mahdi, And then tomorrow I'll call they will call me to say sanction Mali, and I want to sanction Mali without not going through the rightful way. That's Africa, or that's West Africa. I just want to, please my other people who are financing me. It's a problem. So the financing aspect of ECOWAS is also should be looked into properly. So we are not saying that there's no help, but to be honest, we must be independent on our own. We can do it. So Fanta, just to cut this story short, we must come together as a family. We must come together and reform ECOWAS and make this ECOWAS stand on its own and do it on its own. Thank you, Fanta.
So, can I go ahead?
Hello?
Yes, Honorable. Thank you.
Sarif may need to mute. Somebody is.
Thank you very much. So I'll go back to, and we'll round it up when I come back to all of you. Question regarding fiscal and monetary policies. But the question, I didn't quite get the question right. Yes, but he did ask. Okay, the person asked you to throw more light or update us on the status of our convergence, monetary and fiscal criteria for economic integration via a common currency. What is the status so far? What has been the role of ECOWAS and what's the status? Honorable Bilay Tunkara. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Fanta, for that wonderful question. You see, this economic convergence is not easy for countries to meet. The benchmark is that you must meet your inflation. You must also meet your exchange rate stability. There are 3 criteria. So sometimes country A will meet the 3 threshold. Country B will only meet 1. But the next year, the country A that meets the 3 will go down again, probably on inflation. So it's very hard. It's really a concern to us. But what we advise as the ECOWAS last council meeting, was I represented the speaker there, is that let's start. Anybody who met the convergent criteria, let us start to have a common currency. So it's not one size suits all at the same time. If 3 or 4 countries has met the convergent criteria, let's move on and start. But of course, the good news is that the Council of Ministers of the Economic and Finance Ministers of the ECOWAS states, they met and they have given a very strong commitment that at 2027 will roll out the ECO. Inshallah, this was the citizen report presented to us by the ECOWAS president at Parliament last week, on Saturday, rather, this Saturday. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's good to learn that there's political will, but of course there's also commitment to see to it that the eco currency comes into fruition. And I hope that has answered the question of Mr. Gay, who's been asking the question. So I'll circle back to Madi. Uncle Madi, given that young people, would really want to participate, young people really, want to shape the future of this region. And so then in your view, what real roles can young parliamentarians or young people, play in this entire process? Essentially, in strengthening ECOWAS. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I think our young people must first of all demonstrate a willingness to understand their environment. I'm sure if you go around Serakunda today, or Basse, or Farafenye, or Boraba, and the young people you meet to ask them about ECOWAS, what do they know about ECOWAS? I'm sure information would be very limited. There'll be a lot of ignorance about it, there'll be a lot of misconception about it, and there'll be a lot of castigation, against the ECOWAS. They'll describe it all sort of language, as a club of presidents and so on. But young people should not be at that level. They need to realize that they are the leaders of today and tomorrow, and that ECOWAS is an indispensable instrument for the development of the youth, for the creation of a space, of an environment in which they, are able to participate socially, economically, politically, to influence, to create, to change, bring about change, and all of the good things that should come along. So I think that is the kind of sense of responsibility that young people should have, particularly young people who have constituted themselves into organizations like the National Youth Parliament, and or other youth organizations in the Gambia, Senegal, Nigeria, Ghana, and so on. Because as I said, ECOWAS, for me, is untenable as it is. We can live with it. We can convince ourselves that we are making success, and of course, we can have hope, because you can look at all the interventions ECOWAS is doing. ECOWAS is very busy in the sub-region. Certainly, the parliament is meeting all the time. The commission, is crisscrossing the sub-region. The instruments are there, and so on. But when you just look at the indicators in West Africa, the social, economic, political indicators for security, and migration and all other elements, you realize, West Africa is in a very, very precarious situation. And the people that are losing out, that are suffering, are the youths. I mean, we just had an explosion in Libya where some Gambian youths died. Gambian youths are going to Libya across the Sahara Desert. Senegalese youths are going there. Ghanaian youths are going there. I mean, our youth are in serious situation. All right, for poverty, lack of opportunities, insecurity, the terrorism, the extremism that is building in West Africa, threatening in West Africa. I mean, the youth are the people who are in Boko Haram, who are in the other armed groups, rebel groups, the sub-region, that are the youth. So when you look at it, young people should get to a point that they would say, we are fed up. Okay, we need a proper ECOWAS, because we need to have a proper government. But also we need a proper government because we have to have a proper ECOWAS. Because these things they go together. Until our governments, states are in proper shape, that houses are in order, we cannot put ECOWAS in order. And if ECOWAS is not in order, then the member states also are not going to be in order. I mean, Honorable Kamara just mentioned Guinea-Bissau. All right, what is ECOWAS doing there? ECOWAS even went to Guinea-Bissau in February. They nearly kicked them out. Okay, so I think our young people, therefore, I mean, have to realize that in our time, in our generation, we want to take responsibility. We want to take leadership. We want to discover our mission, and we are committed to make sure we fulfill this and so engage. We have ECOWAS members here. All right, Gambia is a member state. The Gambia government, who is the focal point? How are young people engaging our ECOWAS members? It is great that NYP has brought our ECOWAS parliamentarians here. All right, and I hope this will continue, but also at the level of the executive, who is the focal point for ECOWAS in the Gambia, in Senegal, and other places? How do we engage them? All right, and I think that conversation, young people need to take it up, but also to interrogate. I mean, if I could ask the question here, who has read ECOWAS Treaty, Revised Treaty, 1993? Seriously, if you put that before young people, who has read the protocol establishing the parliament, for example, or the community court, all right, or who has read the ISRT or the ETLS and other protocols, on good governance and democracy and so on? Who is familiar with it? And young people need to be familiar with these things so that they take ownership, they take leadership, they take responsibility, because the trajectory of West Africa has to change. I mean, I don't think we've ever been in a more precarious situation, because what has been happening since independence, one-party states, dictatorships, military coups, we've seen that in the 60s. I mean, the two people who founded ECOWAS, who are the top leaders who founded ECOWAS, were Eyadema and Gowon, Yakubu Gowon of Nigeria, and Eyadema Ngasimbe of Togo. And they were soldiers, They were military soldiers, military leaders. So we've seen the coups in the 60s, we've seen the coups in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s. Towards the, the 90s, it was in the middle of the 90s, early 90s, that we began to see transformations, democratic transformation. In Ghana, 1992, Ronit, relinquished, introduced constitutional rule, 2-term limit, which has state, but even Senegal was effectively a one-party state, Senghor then to Abdou Diouf, until 2000, when Macky Sall, Wade came to change it, and we saw term limits come into play. All right. Nigeria went 1999 with Obasanjo, for example. So it's just the past 2 decades to 2.5, decades that we are seeing democracy building up in West Africa. Good sign. Okay. But then today, 2025, what are we seeing? Democratic backsliding, which is impacting heavily on the youth. The 4 military coups regimes already are there, but you have Guinea-Bissau. Okay, Gambia doesn't even have a constitution. With all what happened in 2016, we don't have a new constitution, no time limit until now. Togo has refused a time limit completely. It's a dictatorship. All right. Even the countries that we can point out as, having peaceful change of power, Nigeria, Senegal, Ghana, Benin, or even Sierra Leone, you look at the challenges there. So I think West Africa is in a very precarious situation, never in its history. And so for me, we've gone full circle. Like 50 years, we've gone full circle. And this is what finally I throw to our honorable members who are members of ECOWAS, to bring this message to the ECOWAS Parliament that when we say democracy, Parliament is at the heart of it. There is no democracy where there is no Parliament. Okay, Parliament is at the center and front of it. Yeah, we are getting some noise from somebody, like I see Amadou Gay, and Fanta, I guess. All right. So, we are seeing democratic backsliding. All right. And never in our history in West Africa. And it is really concerning. And so I will ask these honorable members to take this to the ECOWAS Parliament. Because today, when you look at the ECOWAS Treaty, you look at the powers and the functions of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State, you realize that they are the most powerful institution, completely beyond scrutiny. They are beyond scrutiny. Nobody can check them, the authority. All right. Then you have the commission, which is supposed to be the executive arm, the engine of the community of ECOWAS. But you realize that the commission, whether it's in terms of appointment of the president and the commissioners, the functions of the commission, the level of power of the commission, you realize that the commission is practically subservient, to member states and to the authority. So that effectively, the commission, the kind of autonomy and power, enforcement powers that the commission should have, it doesn't have it. And I urge people to compare the ECOWAS Commission with the European Union Commission, so that you get to understand where we are. Then you look at the parliament. Who does the ECOWAS Parliament, who do they represent? Seriously, who do they represent? Because we can elect our members here in the Gambia, in Senegal, in Nigeria. They are Gambian parliamentarians, Nigerian parliamentarians. But when we have ECOWAS Parliament, Parliament is derived from the people. The authority, the judgments of the people is the will of the people, that's our Parliament. Now, if that Parliament, people are just picked from the member states' Parliament and put and called ECOWAS Parliament, doesn't mean that Parliament represents West Africans. So the ECOWAS Parliament, as it is presently constituted, does not represent West Africans. And so that is one. But more importantly, that Parliament lacks legislative power. It lacks oversight power. Its role is basically consultative and advisory. It doesn't check the commission. It doesn't check the authority of heads of state. And the Parliament should be the most powerful institution to ensure transparency, accountability, and performance of the commission, as well as the authority. So which means West Africans should have the right and the duty, the ability to elect their own parliamentarians. I mean, and in fact, there's a proposed protocol on that since 2006 has been proposed that ECOWAS, there should be direct election of ECOWAS parliamentarians. And because that is how you really achieve this idea of ECOWAS of the people, if the people themselves go and elect their own representatives, not just elect, but those representatives also have the legislative power, the oversight. A parliament without legislative power, oversight power, is not parliament. You know, the commission cannot do its budget and said we just send it to the parliament to review and for their comments, you know, yes or no, regardless. Whatever they comment, the commission is not bothered. The authority cannot go and decide, you know, we are going to impose sanctions and stuff like that, and, you know, but without the approval or the, you know, permission of the parliament. All right? The parliament cannot be there sitting down, taking decisions, but they are not binding. You see? So these are all problems hampering ECOWAS and therefore affecting West Africa and therefore explaining the governance and development challenges that West Africa has been grappling with for the past 50 years. So I would urge the honorable members here who are in the ECOWAS Parliament to really begin the ECOWAS Treaty 1993 Treaty needs revision. The protocol establishing the Parliament needs revision because the functions, the powers, you know, I mean, for these three critical institutions need to be reviewed. The way they are presently established, we can only have this kind of ECOWAS. It is there, yet it is not there. And as someone said, you know, Honorable Sar said, only crisis, when you hear crisis. And ECOWAS should not be a crisis management body. It is not that. It is there to build, to create, to establish, to, you know, build the future for West Africa. And, you know, we have all the instruments, as I said, but why enforcement cannot be? You know, I mean, Honorable Tunkara was lamenting Senegal and Gambia in terms of trade. Yes. And, you know, Honorable, I don't buy this thing because I have engaged ECOWAS parliamentarians, ECOWAS commission members for the past 30 years. Okay? And I constantly hear these members don't want to surrender their sovereignty. There's no sovereignty question here because you are member states willingly join ECOWAS. The treaties, the protocols, I mean, the agreements, the everything, you all come to an agreement to say we will put this in place. And no ECOWAS protocol or treaty or agreement or so is denying anyone sovereignty. So sovereignty is not an issue here. Senegal cannot just say we have a different customs thing or Gambia, because that's the purpose of ECOWAS, that's the purpose of the parliament, to make sure we harmonize our health systems, our agriculture systems, our energy systems, our sports systems, our youth development systems, our women, children, you know, our forests, our environment. We make sure that harmonization. And a lot of it already exists. So it is the enforcement that is lacking. But enforcement cannot take place where the commission has no enforcement powers. It's subservient to the authority. The president, you know, to be appointed, you know, the Gambia proposes a candidate, Senegal proposes a candidate. And so the president feels, you know, I've been put here by the Gambia government or the Senegalese government. Right now, the commission is headed by Gambians. In fact, the president is a Gambian. All right? But they cannot do anything. And then the parliament, you know, also cannot do anything. So if Senegal is not abiding by these treaties, these protocols, or Gambia or Nigeria or Senegal, or what currently is happening in Guinea-Bissau, what is the ECOWAS parliament doing about Senegal? I mean, about Guinea-Bissau? They cannot do anything. Because whatever they decide is not binding on Guinea-Bissau, is not binding on the Gambia or anyone else. So basically, they have just a club, to go and sit down in a nice place, hotel somewhere, you know, and have a nice time. But they have no effect. And that has to do with the instruments. So until we look at these instruments and change them, we will have this kind of loose ECOWAS. And our situation is going to aggravate and aggravate and aggravate simply because, you know, this has been the background. And the dynamics, as I said, the global geopolitics. We got to look at the global geopolitics. You know, I mean, especially with the coming of Trump now, the entire international scene is changing. It's changing. And so we cannot sit there and imagine that we will not be affected, you know, not just military, economic, but even AI. Where is the ECOWAS AI strategy? Given the role AI is playing, where AI is going, you know, internet and all of those things. So there is serious business to deal with, and our times and circumstances right now require that we look at ECOWAS and begin a serious transformation, because what is happening in our individual countries is equally untenable. All right. The democratic backsliding that is taken is untenable. I'm happy to see Ghana, the new president in Ghana, is speaking language that I think should be the kind of language ECOWAS and a member state should be talking about. I see the kind of language or approach the new government in Senegal is talking or taking is something that we need to do. Transparency and accountability and performance and delivery. Because our governments in West Africa, they are not transparent, they are not accountable, they are not delivering, they are beset by corruption. I mean, that cannot be. And so ECOWAS got to deal with this. So I can go on and on. Let me stop here so that we have more conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mari. I mean, it's always interesting, but the beauty is this is the Russia now we're having this conversation, but of course,
Fanta, check your connectivity. You're not being heard well.
it's a platform where submissions are made and parliamentarians also would take note, especially these parliamentarians are like our special envoys to the ECOWAS.
Fanta, your voice is not clear, Fanta. Your voice is not clear.
So really, whatever submission you make is really taken note of, and I'm sure there are sittings in Abuja. I'd allow Gilbert come in, and then one. Is Gilbert there? Gilbert, I'm actually inviting Gilbert to say something. Gilbert, am I being heard? Gilbert had something to say, so I just wanted to quickly allow Gilbert the opportunity to say something. Gilbert, are you there? Amadou, are you there?
If he is not, then maybe you can proceed with someone else.
Yeah, I just wanted Amadou. Amadou's hand is up, so I think he has something to say. He had a question he needed clarification on.
Can you hear me, Fanta?
Yes, Amadou, please go ahead. Please go ahead, make your submission.
Oh, thank you very much. I'll take the opportunity to both raise a few issues, not issues, but suggest solutions, because issues have been raised by almost every speaker. But also touch on the question that I asked that Mr. Tunkara, Honorable Tunkara, did quite well to be very modest and say that there were issues along the way in terms of reaching the convergence criteria, which actually is the basis for genuine economic integration. Otherwise, nothing is happening in terms of registering achievements, because we need integration. That was the objective in 1975. And if we haven't reached that basic outcome, then we cannot talk of achievements, okay? In spite of all the good things, of course, that ECOWAS has done. I'm not saying that not many good things have been done, but the ultimate outcome was to have this integration. And Mr. Honorable Tunkara has just indicated that it is difficult to do that because of this country will be at this level in terms of this criterion. another country at another level, and then decline a bit. The one that was ahead goes down back, and so on. So he's showing practically that it's almost impossible to achieve this. And the reason, he also highlighted it, and he said it's difficult to to implement some of these things. You can't. Some countries are not sacrificing certain elements of their sovereignty. This is a very interesting discussion, and if you allow me, I want to touch on it because it touches on the heart of ECOWAS and the heart of what could be achieved in terms of our integration. So he was very honest there to say some countries are not sacrificing certain elements of their self-sovereignty. That's an issue. So there is kind of no enforcement agency there. Someone mentioned custom laws not being harmonized to enhance intertrade, which Mahdi has mentioned, so limited compared to our global trade. And the deficits are also so alarming. So really we have to look into these issues, and that's what I wanted to just take a little bit of time, if you allow me, because I want to make suggestions also. I'm not sure it will be implemented now, but at least so people understand why we are where we are right now and what could be the possible ways, solutions to move ahead and maybe even to do better than the AU. Mahdi has mentioned most of the challenges, and according to civil society's perspective, and they're all genuine, all right. And some of the NAMs also, the members, honorable members, have also mentioned some of the same challenges. So I would reduce them to two. One, Mahdi said the most unequal region. That's very significant, the most unequal. If you look at the indices for equality, gender, etc., we are not there. And Gambia is among the most also unequal, because if you look at per capita income, we are among the lowest, and per capita income, take it, is the most decisive index for developing countries like ours. Everything else, just the economic growth, 10%, whatever, it's nothing, because that is the per capita, meaning for every citizen, what is the impact on you in terms of what government is doing, in terms of your livelihood. So that one for me, and for any genuine economist, is the most important. And we are doing the least in those two areas. So in short, the people have lost trust in ECOWAS because the economic integration and development hasn't happened, given those indices that Mahdi talked about and that I expanded on. It's both social and economic, of course. It's not happening, so youths are not satisfied with what is happening today, and that's why you see them rushing to support unelected government leaders in Traore and in the rest of the AES. Let's look at ourselves again, because we do not want the backslide where every regime is dominated by military, by people who are not elected. That doesn't mean they are not good. Otherwise, the youth will not support them. But I'm just talking here about legitimacy. So they need to be elected, and that is democracy. That is democratic governance. So people participate. So we do not want to leave our continent and our region, being dominated by people in uniform. But if they are more progressive and trying to do things that echo, that resonate with the young people, we have a paradox here, Fanta. The young people want to see something good, but those doing it are not legitimate. Now, those that are legitimate are not doing it, or are in fact carrying out serious coup d'etats, constitutional. Some of you have mentioned, I think including Mahdi also. Term limit not respected. We have here Ivory Coast going to the 4th term. Now, the elections are due in August, right? And what is ECOWAS doing to stop them? Like Mahdi said, you have to stop before it becomes a crisis to manage. So I'm just trying to get into the heart. I'm not being critical. I'm a citizen of ECOWAS, of the Gambia, and I want to see ECOWAS succeed like any other regional entity around the globe. So that was just the context, right? The people have shown, the youth have shown that they are not satisfied, and they are showing you where they want to see development, even though that is not legitimate. So my question here is, these two things are lacking: genuine representation of the people, and genuine accountability to the people of ECOWAS. These two are lacking. Madi has touched on them a little bit by saying they are not elected, the NAMs, and that's correct. We are not criticizing. We are just showing you ways where you can have a good union. We look at the American Union as a federal union. We look at EU as another economic integration. We look at Russia as a federal union. We have experience around the globe. We know all kinds of unions. And there are three types, mainly two types. I'm going to the core for ECOWAS. Two types. You would normally have intergovernmentalism, intergovernmental union, where it's a union between a collaboration, I would even call it, between sovereign states. Okay? They are usually created through a treaty between them, right? And the member states retain the full control of their sovereignty. I'm getting now to the core of Honorable Bilay Tunkara. So there, in the ECOWAS case, we are having an intergovernmental setup, okay? And they're collaborating, and they are not also answerable to the people because they are not elected, as Madi said. All right? The heads of governments are elected in each of those countries, and they come and form kind of a union with the other heads of states. So it's like union between heads of states, not between the people. Listen to me very carefully. So the people there are not represented, and we are talking here about democracy. So this has to be challenged completely and completely reformed. It's not to happen today, but just we are showing the way so that we can find solutions to our current predicament. So the other union is Unitarianism, where you have a union between initially independent states, but they all surrender their full sovereignty to the union government. This is what is in some countries, like you know, it's not many. You usually have a step to Unitarianism, which is federalism. The United States is a federal government. You know, Switzerland, Germany, Russia, right? Ethiopia, etc. These are federalist unions. I'm not saying they're all working well, but the main feature there is a form of union where the member states kind of mutualize the management of certain elements of their sovereignty, and they retain some elements of their sovereignty. So they'll give the federal structure, for instance, economy and finance, foreign affairs usually, and security. Basically, those are the three. All right. If you look at all forms of these federal structures around the globe, I'm talking from experience because I'm a little bit trying to specialize in that area also, besides being a civil society activist, but also working for African Pan-African Union, but through civil society for now, because we do not see the governments going that way. They've set up a target of 2063 to achieve that. The young people of Africa today do not believe that they need to wait that long. This can be done in very few years if people are committed and ready, as Mr. Tunkara, Honorable Tunkara will say. So between Unitarianism and intergovernmentalism, you have federalism, okay? And that is what we have in most of the governments, where you give certain portions, as I mentioned, those three key ones, and you retain culture, sports, whatever. And this was an issue with the African Union at the start during Nkrumah's time, because most of the countries did not want to cede food sovereignty to the union that Nkrumah was calling for, even though he did not call for them to cede all of it, but that's how they saw it. So they were afraid, and they wanted to retain their influence to their countries, and something like that is happening now within ECOWAS. So what do we do in order to move from this impasse? We need the reforms and to reform this setup so that ECOWAS becomes accountable to the people, and also they represent the people directly. So to have that, you cannot have intergovernmentalism anymore, what we are having now, both at the AU level and at the ECOWAS level, and all the other REC, regional economic communities level around the continent. Because then you cannot be answerable, the people cannot check you, there is no check and balance, so they are just there, as Madi said, they do what they want to do, if they want to party, they party, if they want to work seriously, they work, but the limits of the structure would restrain them from achieving anything, just like we've discussed here now about the convergence criteria, because we can't move. I asked that deliberately, And I got the answer deliberately, the answer that I was expecting from Billy Tunkara, because that tells us that's just one area. You can look at many other areas within ECOWAS. You'll find the same issue. But that was just one very crucial one, showing you that we can make headways. So to do that, we need the parliament, as Madi was saying, elected directly by the people. That's what's happening in the European Union, where I had lived also to some extent and worked within the structures of the union there. In Scandinavia, in Finland, on agriculture project, but then you have to look at all the structures, and I could see that very clearly. So we need to reform the structures so that the ECOWAS leaders, both at the commission, the parliament, the heads of authority, are all represented by the people directly. So to do that, it cannot be per country. It has to be either federal, unitarian, kind of government. Okay, so maybe we are not calling for unitarian because nobody wants to cede all your sovereignty to a structure out there, however you trust that structure. All right, the central structure I'm talking about here, but certain ones that determine our existence, economy and finance, which talks about this, all these things Kwame Nkrumah talked about, the central bank, the common currency. These are not new. He talked about this in the 50s, long before even the European Union set up theirs, meaning he was even more progressive from Africa. We were than even the current Europe that we had. In fact, some colleagues tell me that maybe they have stolen some of Kwame Nkrumah's ideas, but nobody owns ideas, so we cannot call it stolen, right? But he had them. He spelled them out very clearly, 50s, and that's what they have implemented. So we need to get that representation so that the parliamentarians are directly directly elected by the people through ECOWAS mission agenda. So that would have, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you very much. That was really insightful. That was really brilliant. At this point, we're about to close. We would allow Mr. Gilbert to, say a few things, and then we'll close it from here. Gilbert, are you there? Gilbert, are you there? Seems like we're losing Gilbert. We'll have Abdullah Oba do the closing for us. Oba.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah,
Gilbert there?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much. I had to quickly attend to a meeting, but thank you very much, Fanta, for a very fantastic moderation. So I just have to show appreciation to the team at the National Youth Parliament for putting this webinar together. And I also want to show appreciation to our panelists, our honorable members from the National Assembly, and also our senior man, Madi Dobate, for that impressive submission. Obviously, from the presentations that we've heard today, there is a lot of work to be done. And this discussion is just the beginning of that. And one thing that I've picked from this webinar is the fact that until our various heads of state or our various governments are willing to yield some aspect of their power to the central, to the ECOWAS, we will continue to struggle with the union. The union cannot do anything without the various national, the various countries yielding some level of authority to it. And again, the ECOWAS needs to also work along with the citizenry. I was very happy with one point that Madi made with regards to the celebration. It's the same question that a lot of people have asked in Ghana. Where is the celebration of the ECOWAS at 50? Where is it taking place? What are the programs, the activities? These are things that all of us are cut off from. we have no information. And maybe our members of parliament representing the Gambia at the ECOWAS parliament perhaps could have told more light on the ECOWAS at 50 celebration. But the way we celebrate other international holidays, the way we celebrate other international significance day, should have been the same way we are celebrating these ECOWAS at 50. Unfortunately, that is not happening, which means that we as the people are not being taken along to this celebration. And we are hoping that our members of parliament will bring this to the attention of the powers that be at the ECOWAS level, so that they get all of us involved. We want to be part of the ECOWAS, the ECOWAS structure that exists as citizens on the continent. So with these few words, let me once again thank all of you, the panelists and then the participants, for joining today's engagement, and we look forward to more of such collaborations. Fanta, over to you.
Thank you very much, Gilbert. Thank you very much. So at this point, we would just like to draw the webinar to a close at this point in time. It was really a long day. I'm sorry I kept you guys waiting beyond the stipulated time, but we had to wait for other participants to also join on board. But all in all, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us, commemorate this day, but to also do a reflection of, what ECOWAS truly means, how it's representing people, and I mean the role of civil society, but also the role of parliament in ensuring that the regional entity really represents its people. Some of the reflections that were made here are more like submissions that will be taken into consideration by our honorable National Assembly members, who also double as, members of the ECOWAS parliament in the Gambia here. So thank you very much, Uncle Madi, Honorable Bile Tunkara, Honorable Amadou Kamara, and Honorable Sherif Sar. We've really had a really fruitful conversation, and it was really mature, and it was also, reflecting. So thank you very much, essentially, for agreeing to do this with us. We hope the conversation also continue, because it's a never-ending conversation. Governance and development issues always pop up, and it is only through meaningful and constructive conversations that we can drive meaningful change. So thank you very much for being here today. Thank you. So at this point, I just wanted to ask if you can just turn on your cameras. We just wanted to take a quick screenshot of the people on the platform, just to turn on your cameras, and we'll have our partners take a photo of the platform. Thank you very much. I'll start doing by myself, so I'll just turn on my camera. Let's see who else is turning on theirs.
Yeah, thank you, Fanta, and PNG, Gilbert, and team, and Fanta, you and Abla and the team. It was great being here with the honorable members as well. I had done a presentation and I was going to share it, but then yeah, so I can share.
Please, Uncle Madi, just share via email, and I'll do the sharing. No problem. Okay. I'll do well to share with other partners as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Fanta.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Fanta.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Thank you so much. This is really appreciated.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we can quit now.
Yes, sure, you can.
All right. Okay, guys. Bye bye. Yeah.